So I'm one of the academic development tutors at GCU at the LDC. I work on everything, but I specialise in international students, although citing and referencing is valid for everybody. So if we move on to this slide, this is some of the terminology. So it's like anything. It's good to know what exactly everything means. And I'll keep the chat open there. Yeah, it's good to know what the terminology means because everybody uses it, and your lecturers will use it, and it'll be in your module handbook. So citing, when you cite something, you use somebody else's ideas in your work, and you are required to acknowledge the source in your assignment. So this is known as citing, or also text referencing. So citing is simply to cite is the verb. So citing is just using somebody else's work, and that's it. So work from a secondary source. In your essays or your reports, you'll be required to provide a detailed description of your source using a referencing system such as Harvard. So you'll be using Harvard referencing. References should be provided within the text immediately following information taken from the source. So when you are using somebody else's work from, I've got a book here, from a book, you'll be paraphrasing or summarizing or quoting somebody else's work within your report or within your assignment, and you'll be acknowledging it. So within the text, you'll be putting the author's surname and the date of publication. This person here, or whoever you use, will also be written fully at the end of it. So within the text, you've got the person. That very same author is also acknowledged at the end in a reference list. So references are not quite the same as a bibliography. A reference is exactly what you've used, and a bibliography can be anything you've kind of listened to or heard, but you don't necessarily use it in the text. So I'm going to ask, so how many of you at the moment are writing reports for coursework? Type it in. Are you writing reports at the moment? Oh, there's yep. Yeah, I thought so. Yes. So yes, you will soon. Yeah, because we're kind of semester's underway, and you've probably been given stuff to do. And everybody knows they have to reference, but it's like, what are you having to reference, and then how do you get it? So as we okay, end of module assessment. So as we go through this, you'll see a little bit more about how you actually, what does it actually mean, and why you're having to do it. So whenever you refer to the work or ideas of someone else, you must acknowledge this in the text to allow your reader, which is the lecturer, to see where your information stems from, and to respect other people's right to their own intellectual work. This practice is called referencing. So for example, the level of work that you're doing, whether you're in first, fourth year or postgraduate, you'll be writing on a higher academic level than you would have done prior to here, whether you're at school or at college. So you'll be putting forward new ideas, you'll be proving ideas, you'll be criticizing something, you'll be investigating something, you will be discussing something. So it's really important that the work you put forward has other people's input, and those other people are those people who work in your area. So for example, for me, if I was doing something on reflective practice, then I would include the work of other people in the field of reflective practice, whether I would be including them, whether they support my work, whether they disagree with it, whether they have something new in it. And this is what referencing is. If you don't reference them, then it's plagiarizing. So you would never say something like, I think that COVID-19 was a conspiracy. Not it is. You would never say something like that, because I'm not an authority on COVID, and I would never say something like that. If there was something in the text, you would say, according to Backins, brackets 2020, he stated that COVID-19 was a conspiracy, or something like that. That's an example of how you'd support your work. So I hope you can see this. So this is an example of an original source. So this is an original source. You've got the bit that you wrote there. So this was written by Nickerson, R.S. Nickerson, and he wrote it in 1999. And then that's the name of his source there. A student has got this, and a student has, I'll make that a little bit smaller. Sorry, I have to make it smaller because it's quite a big slide. Oh, I think it's actually gone off. Sorry. Okay, so a student has taken that now, has taken that and has summarized it or paraphrased it a little bit. Is that a correct paraphrase? Put in yes or no. Is that a correct paraphrase? So a student's seen that bit there at the top from a source from the library or somewhere and has paraphrased it. Do you think that's a correct way of doing it? No, no, no. Why not? You're correct. Why isn't it correct? Gerard, hiya. Gerard, have you got a question? Your hand's up.
Hi there.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It says, in order to communicate effectively with other people, one must have a reasonable idea of what they do and do not know that is pertinent to the communication. That's, when you read that, you need to read that a few times to actually get what they're saying. So
yeah,
it doesn't make sense straight away. Especially English. English is my first language, and I had to read that a few times. So it'd be different for someone else if English isn't their first language.
Yeah,
so it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, good. Thanks for that. So that's something that somebody's written, and then a student has got this person's work and written it. But as Victoria has just said, it's not correct. A, but well, it's not that easy to understand. But B, there's no citation. You should have said according to Nickerson or Nickerson 1999, blah blah blah. Okay, so that is incorrect. You'll see from the next slide. This is plagiarism. Although the student paraphrased the original source, a citation must be provided in text and reference at the end of the assignment. So whatever you have taken from somebody else, whether you've just read a whole page and summarized it in a paragraph, or whether you've paraphrased a short paragraph, whatever you've done, you must always paraphrase that. You must always reference that with the surname and then the date of publication. So referencing means that your arguments are clearly supported by evidence. So it doesn't necessarily mean arguments. It means the point you are making, the proof you're making, the discussion, the evidence, all these kind of things, because you're not just describing something. Somebody else's work has gone in there for a reason. Because it supports what you say, because it disagrees with what you say, because it's providing evidence, because it's providing, because it's disagreeing, it's refuting what you say. And then you can use your own sources for further reference in the future. Your work will be more convincing because it's backed up, so your work will have authority. And then when you do your dissertations and stuff, they'll all be on public domain, they'll be in the library. Then it lets the reader check quotations and data and consult the sources, and your lecturer can see how widely you've read. So quite often a lecturer might say, this just isn't enough, or you need to back this up. It's not really substantive enough. That's okay to interrupt, Terence. How to correctly reference case law? No, I won't. However, I can provide you with links for that. Okay, so as we come up to the end, I can provide you with links because there's so many different ways. In fact, I'll bring something up just now. There are so many different ways of referencing different things due to and it's fine to interrupt anyway. So there I'm not sure what your first name, whether it's Terence or whether it's Shannon, because they're both applicable. I'm sorry if I get it wrong. So I'll put there the GCU Harvard referencing guide. Is that helpful? Okay, good, because there's different ways, and I'll go back to this. There are different ways of referencing everything. There are different ways of referencing websites, blogs, tweets, parliamentary papers, BBC programs, Netflix, articles, journals, e-journals, anything. There are so many different sources to reference, and each one of them has their own different style. And it's impossible for anybody to know what they all are. So if you go to Google and you type in GCU referencing, and I typed in, what did I type in? Case laws. Yeah, or blogs or tweets. It'll come up and it'll tell you how to do it. Okay, so these are the 3 ways you can introduce secondary references. There are 3 ways. The first way is to quote. Okay, where you think an author has said something particularly well, you can quote him directly and provide a reference to the relevant article beside the quote. So say somebody has said something that backs up what you are thinking. Now I've got this thing. Yeah. Yeah. So if I'm using something to introduce what I'm doing, I would say according to Bassott, who stated in relation to professional practice, brackets 1999. So if you have a book there or an article there, you would incorporate that, and it's got to be relevant to what you're saying. You can summarize it. You can add an overview of the source and you provide a reference to the relevant source. So you summarize what you're saying, you then put the surname and the date of publication beside it. Or you can paraphrasing it. Paraphrasing just basically means you've got the whole article there, and then you're putting it into your own words, or you have a short paragraph, or somebody has said a sentence, and you don't want to quote it, but you want to put it in your own words, still with a reference beside it. And there's your example, the direct quote. Now GPA, you wouldn't need to do that. That's an American attainment measurement. Dodge, 2008, states that academic success as measured by GPA is largely predicated on the number of hours undergraduates invest in their studies, page 125. So that's a direct quote, because you can see the quote marks. He's paraphrased it. He's put it in his own words, but he's still acknowledged it. And the summary, again, he's acknowledged it. So how many of you, I'll put the poll up here. I'll do the multiple choice. Okay, so I'll put a poll up there. Do you, and there's 24, do you quote? Okay, yes, I think, sorry, Victoria, I put the wrong one up. I actually quit that. I'm going to put it up again. Sorry. Hi, Nelson. You have a question?
Sorry,
do you...
sorry, my mistake. I just pressed the button. Sorry.
That's all right. There's too many buttons to press. That's why. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Usually quote, because some people don't quote at all. So I can say. So say, do you usually quote? Some people wouldn't have a clue. Hi, Terence. Do you usually quote? Yes or no? Usually, sometimes, never. Oh, did the same as Nelson. Why are you all pressing your thumbs up things? So yes, well that's good. So the thing, and we'll go on to that. So it's good to know that some people, most of you will quote. I think you know because you have to. But I tell you what, if you use quotations well, it makes a really good impact. Right, thanks for that. What is a direct quote? And there's some little hints here on in the following slides about how to make them a wee bit better. So quoting is where you copy an author's text word for word, place quotation marks around it, etc., etc. So the example is, in discussing the importance of teaching study skills, Jordan, 1997, page 8, states that study skills are not something acquired instinctively. You don't always have to put a page number in because sometimes it's just not applicable. So if it's something from web content, you won't necessarily have a page number. So you would just have the date of publication or the date of publication of the website. So always have a good reason for using a direct quote. Yes. Oh yes. What about the excess of quoting? How much would not be considered original? Yes. That brings me on to number 4 there. Do not use quotes as padding. Padding means you want to pad out your essay or your report to get your word count up. Okay. So therefore don't allow quotes to speak for themselves, and always make sure you provide an analysis of the quote. Don't use quotes just for the sake of using quotes. Only use a quote if it says something important or that really adds a bit of substance to what you're saying. So if your quote is really long, I think you can see what I'm doing here. If your quote is really long, you should indent it and put it in italics, but you shouldn't really use long quotes. Okay, you shouldn't use long quotes. So is further information such as page number and yes, it is, Callum. So within the text you'd have, now I'm using this as a poor excuse because I can't think of anything else, but within the text, if I was quoting from this person, this book, within the text I'd just have Basot and the date of publication, which is 2019. At the end, you'd have all the website address and the page number and the place of publication. Yes, you're quite right. So the pair of them should match up. So the reference at the end has all the further information. And then the page number went in alongside the publication date. Yes, it can do. If I was at the library, like the physical library, and I went to the physical bookshelves and I took a book out, you would use the page number. So if I got a quote from page 63, I'd put page 63 on it. You can also do that if you have an extract. If you have the online thing and you have the extract of it, you would have the page on it. So your lecturer should be able to find out exactly where it is. So where applicable, you put the page number. Okay, so yeah, so back to what Nelson was saying, don't quote too much, don't pad it out, don't let the quote speak for itself. Don't just plonk the quote in the middle of the report, the middle of the assignment. It's got to have a value. And it says there, make sure you provide an analysis of the quote. You could say, this demonstrates that, this shows that, this proves that. The quote is it says something. Basot supports the idea of reflective practice by commenting on blah, blah, blah. Okay, so whatever you're saying, the quote you put in, you must have some kind of explanatory information surrounding it. Choose a reporting verb carefully. Can you put in an example of what a reporting verb is? Actually, not quite. It's kind of, but it's not truly. Its true thing isn't. But you're along the right lines. Yes, supports, states, quantifies, refutes. And as we go through this, I'll give you a link to reporting verbs. So it's really good to vary them, because states is neutral. You could say agrees, which is positive. You could say disagrees, which is negative. So the reporting verb you choose will have an impact on your assignment, will have an impact on your report. Refutes. Refutes, disagrees. So you could say blah, blah refutes the idea put forward by so-and-so. That means he's refusing it. So that means, so it's good when you're writing something to show that other authors have got different opinions. So it's all about critical analysis. It's all about showing that the work you're doing, or the idea you're putting forward is not generally accepted by everybody. So that's what makes your report, your assignment, really good. Yeah, so provide quotes only when an author has written in such an effective manner, when you are very much inspired by it. Don't just stick it in for the sake of it. There's nothing wrong in shortening a quote. You can use ellipses in order to not include unwanted text. You know what ellipses are? Yes, well done. That's exactly what it is. If you've got a big, massive, long sentence and you don't want to put the whole sentence in, you'll do maybe 3 or 4 of the most important words, and then you'll do ... However, don't overdo it. So you always have to balance between a quote that speaks volumes in itself and having long quotes which you're just using to pad out your assignment. Quotations in the text. According to Saunders, black economies build businesses and use reporting verbs to report the views of others. And there's some example of reporting verbs, and I will email you. So I'm just putting up the link to this because I can't show it through the PowerPoint. Look at that. So that's that Manchester Phrase Bank. So they do. So if you really want to make your assignment or your report really powerful, then use different kind of reporting verbs. Here's an example on a completely different topic. In addition, decreasing particle size increases the range of organisms that can ingest the debris. This is science. Lowe and Thompson, 2014. Okay, the reference at the end, and that's the reference at the end. So that means that whatever you have within your text must be a reference at the end. And also, it doesn't say it here, the reference list at the back should be in alphabetical order of the surname. So you'd have the A's, B's, C's, D's, etc., etc. It should be in alphabetical order. It should be 1.5 line spacing. There are 2 ways of putting it in the text. You can have information prominent and author prominent. So you can see that one. So put it in. Is that first one, is that information prominent or is that author prominent? Good. Information prominent, because the information comes first. The second one is author prominent because it comes with the author. It's Murphy, 1995. So it is a good idea to vary how you insert the author's work, either that one or that one. So you can interchange between the 2. Murphy claimed that, Murphy stated that, Murphy pointed out that, Murphy agreed that, Murphy refuted, whatever he did. So change the way that you do it, because it may be deemed to be a little lazy sometimes just to do your text with the author at the end of it. Not so much lazy, just a bit kind of, you know, it could be put forward really well if you kind of interchange it. So I'm going to do another little poll here. Oops. Yes, it should be, Michael. Sorry, my polling thing, multiple choice. Okay, yes. Yes, no. Sorry, I'm back to here. Okay, do you find paraphrasing tricky? Because if you find something tricky, it can be another way to put a new workshop on. I'll put the poll up. Do you find paraphrasing tricky? Okay, yes. I think everybody does. It's hard work. Okay, 20 of you are not responding. I'll probably send you to sleep. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. I think there might be. I think everybody does. Yeah, it's time consuming. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, I'll quit out that one. Yes. Okay, typically, yes, especially linking two or more different pages together. Okay, yes, Nicolo, do you mean linking two different report articles together? Is that what you mean when you say paraphrasing is difficult? It can sometimes help when you say, so if you're introducing a new thing, it can sometimes help by saying something like, introducing it by saying something like further. Yes, yes, yeah. Time consuming to process, then say it in your own way. Yeah, too right it is. So you could say, further information was provided by, or secondly, or thirdly, or in addition to this. So it's always good to use things like linking words. So if you say in addition to this, so if you Google Manchester Phraseback linking words, you say in addition to this, because it's really difficult just to suddenly introduce something. So you need to link it on. But I will be running further workshops on integrating sources. If you have something to paraphrase, just introduce it. So for example, if this one thing, if I was reading a paper on the mental benefits, the mental health benefits of reflective writing, for example, I would put the topic sentence, the first sentence in, which would lead me then on to do the rest of it. You basically just read your articles, just read your page or read your article quickly. And then I'm doing another workshop on reading strategies. Read it quickly, put it away if you've got time, read it again, put it away, understand it, turn the page over, write a few notes, and then from those notes you build up a paraphrase. Don't try and paraphrase sentences word for word. And then obviously the paraphrase has got to credit the author, and it's short in the original one. You could highlight articles, you could highlight bits that are important. You're just giving a gist of it. So rewriting the way you understand the passage is one of the key elements of paraphrasing. So you're not having to go to it and word for word try and kind of like paraphrase it and provide synonyms for anything. You've just got to understand it. You've got to understand what you're reading, make notes in it, and then go back again and try and link it together. And it is time consuming. There are multiple referencing systems and styles used across GCU, so please check with your tutor about what type to use. The chances are it'll be Harvard referencing. Cite them right, which I will put the link up. I'll put it in the chat. Cite them right is a...
You might click directly within the presentation as well.
Oh, I don't think it works. Hold on. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, so you can't see that. Oh, can you see it? Oh, it's blue. Can you see the library that I've clicked onto? Okay, you can click it. Okay, right. That's why if I click on it within this, I think, yeah. If I click on it within this, it doesn't show up, which is why I put it in the chat. Okay, so if you click on it, oh, it opened in a new tab, not on the screen you're sharing. Okay. So I could then share my tab. Is that better? Yeah, good. Okay, so this is Cite Them Right. So you go into, so if you go into the library and you can tap on Cite Them Right. Okay, so go into and go to, click on it. Now you won't be able to get it because it's me signing in. Okay, so you should be able to do it. So just go to GCU Library and then you should be able to type in Cite Them Right, and it just brings up a package which tells you everything you need to know about referencing. Okay, so now I'm going to bring the PowerPoint back. Okay, good. So Cite Them Right is really good. There's another thing. It also includes a helpful referencing tutorial to help you develop your skills. If I open that, yes, if you go into that again, you'll find the referencing tutorial. So all these little things are really helpful. Have an issue with citing figures or place them which down tab. Okay, Michael. What do you mean which down tab? Okay, I see what you mean. It'll probably give you an option to quote within. I tell you what, you're probably better off doing, and I think I'll email everybody, because you can go through a RefWorks tutorial at the library, because quite often when you do the down thing, it will give you different types. I know what you mean. It will give you different types of referencing. So I'll find that out and I'll email you. Oh, it's snowing outside. RefWorks. Yeah, because there's different referencing styles and for referencing different types of things, particularly figures or tables. So the reference list is a list of all the authors you've used and referred to within your assignment. And the reference list comes at the back of your assignment with the authors listed in alphabetical order. So Cite Them Right and GCU RefWorks. So how many of you used RefWorks? GCU RefWorks. Okay, so Michael, wait. Okay. Yes, you got 4% off for not using the right referencing. Okay. So for the rest of you who haven't, yes. Again, I'll put the link to RefWorks is great. Okay, same issues. Okay, well, you'll see. If you click on that, so Callum, the same issue as Michael. Okay, mentally. Hold on. Callum referencing tables. Okay, I'll see if I can find out about that because that'd be useful to know. Tables and figures. Okay, so RefWorks is really good. So there, RefWorks is basically means that when you find your article or your source on the GCU library, you can use the RefWorks functionality to be able to automatically reference, which is fantastic. So it just saves a whole load of hard work. But there are other systems. Turnitin. Now you all know about Turnitin. It's the plagiarism police. So basically, it's just the software. So it goes through what it intends to. What the intention of Turnitin is to help students to be able to learn to paraphrase and summarize. It's not there to catch anybody out. It's just there to basically encourage people to acknowledge the sources behind their quotes and also to be able to summarize and paraphrase. Yeah, it is a bit strict despite having referenced properly your cites. Yes. It also depends on the lecturer. When they set up the Turnitin thing, they should be able to set it up so that it ignores the quotation marks. Also, particularly within engineering computing terminology, there are a lot of phrases which cannot, and the same as business, it cannot be, you can't find synonyms for them. So sometimes it might be 3 or 4 words that have to go together. Yeah, which have to go together, and then Turnitin detects that. However, it should be up to your lecturer to go through when they see certain words that you can't paraphrase or you can't provide synonyms for, and that it should be okay. But yes, it can be a bit of a pain sometimes. Little tips. Start a new page at the end of your report, your assignment, and label it references. Put references size 12, heading 1. When I say heading 1, do you all know how to insert contents pages? Good. Murder, yes, no, yes, no. Okay, so rather than, okay, Gerard, murder, oh, okay. So basically, to insert a contents page, so I'm going to talk you through it. You're in Microsoft Word. Okay, you're in Microsoft Word. In fact, I think I'll see if I can. I'll share my screen if I can. Just give me a second, and then I can show you. I'm going to share a tab. Okay, can you all see this? Okay, this is me showing you. I'll just show you very quickly. You've got your Microsoft Word document. You've got report. You're putting lots of headings in it. Introduction. Whatever else. The next one. You basically go to that heading you put. You select it, and you go to heading 1. Okay, so every heading you make for every paragraph in your report, you go to it, you select it, and you go to heading 1. And then you do that. You do the same for the reference list. Okay, so that goes all the way through your report. When you've finished, now this is where I get a bit lost. When you've finished your report, and then you do insert. Now I can't find it, but you'll find it. pages or something. I'm sure somebody else will be able to tell you. But you just do insert and then it says insert contents. Somebody else will know better. Okay, so that's what you do when you do that, and then you do insert contents page. Okay, so as long as so anything you want to appear in the contents page, if you select it and do it as heading 1, then that'll appear. Okay, so I'm just going to bring back the file. Okay, is it insert index tables contents page? It doesn't, yes, it numbers, I think you need to do you need to put insert, yes, okay, Michael's under references. You need to insert page numbers. So, but leave page numbers to the end. So leave inserting the contents page and page numbers at the end. So when you have the contents page, once you've done insert page numbers, then the page numbers will automatically come beside your heading. Oh yes, here we were again. So ensure that you record everything that you use. Okay, so every time you use an article, every time you reference something, just get into the habit, because so many times you can go into something and you forget where it is, or you take a quotation, you forgot who said it. So every time you take something, at least copy and paste what you're doing, and then you can change it to do it formally. Yes, it's happened to me also. So especially as you get something, you get really excited, oh, I'll use that. You put it down and then you forget where you've done it, and then you come to reference it and then it's not there, and you have to hunt. So the good thing about using RefWorks, if you use RefWorks, is that it saves everything and it's already there. Yeah, so use GCU RefWorks, report folder within RefWorks, and put it straight in. Yeah, so it's just a really good habit to get into, and it saves all the stress of referencing. Can be stressful, and it saves yes, you have a lot of tabs open, so so that's why it's important when you're doing this kind of stuff to take breaks away from it. Don't use a translator if you're a second language learner, because it'll come out, be translated wrong. And you use a good online dictionary to give synonyms and meanings, which is spelt incorrectly. And that's it. So was that's basically given an overview of the importance of referencing, importance of citations, how to quote properly, how not to use quotations to simply add fluff to your report, and then how to set it all out properly.